What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Shout out to the Dragon Riders and the House of the Dragon. It is the 17th day of November, my friends, and here we are at about $502 with 8 hours and 9 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it, okay? So I just thought I'd share with you guys a fun fact, and that is that Bitcoin Cash at the moment is my largest holding in my portfolio. This is the coin that I own the most of as far as US dollar denominated value goes, is Bitcoin Cash, right? Used to be Onyx coin, it used to be XCN, but XCN has dropped quite a bit. It's not because I've sold any XCN, no, I've actually bought more, if anything, and that value has just dropped over time. Bitcoin Cash, however, has increased. Since April, Bitcoin Cash is up 101%. Even with the catastrophe of last month's October 10th crash, the average altcoin, by contrast, is only up 34%. Bitcoin Cash is literally outperforming the rest of the market like at a 3-to-1 rate. Okay, this is why Bitcoin Cash is my top position right now, and the reason why is because it's safe. It's a safe asset, right? Anybody who's getting into crypto, anybody who's looking to make money, like people that I talk to in the real world that are like, I want to put money into something and I don't want to worry about it. I just want to know that it's going to grow over time. When they say those words, this is the project I point them toward, because nothing else. I'm very convinced of the success of various crypto projects, a ton of them. We talk about them all the time, daily. But as far as what has longevity, what will be here in 10 years or more, I don't have any confidence for any coin more than I do Bitcoin Cash. Maybe Bitcoin itself, Ethereum, right? But Bitcoin Cash specifically, because it's very undervalued. Being at $502, I think this thing is worth tens of thousands, hundreds, millions one day. We'll see. You know, it'll get there. I really do treat Bitcoin Cash here at $502. I treat it the same as being able to buy Bitcoin back at 502, and Bitcoin's at 94K right now. All the people who think, man, if only I bought Bitcoin before it was worth $1,000, I could have just held and made some money. This is your opportunity to do that. Why can't I talk? Opportunity to do that. There's a lot of t-t-ts. I'm very, very confident that Bitcoin Cash sees a lot of growth, and another reason why it's my biggest position beyond the fact that I'm convinced of its longevity is the fact that I think it's going to grow. I really wouldn't be surprised at all if by the end of this cycle, not only were we at new all-time highs, but if we were at something on the lines of a $13,000 price or more, which from here, that's a 25x at a minimum. I'm really coming around to the idea that Bitcoin Cash is going to see a 25, 23K target by the end of this cycle. It's not going to happen in the timing that we originally thought, but a 50x move overall, I really don't think is out of the question with this thing. Higher than that, could we see 53K? It's possible, but we've already kind of gone over why that doesn't make sense a whole lot, right? If we look at BCH, BTC, and we assume that Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin will see a $500,000 price by the end of this bull run. With that, I can't imagine. Oops, not BCH, BTC on Coinbase. We want Binance. I can't really imagine that from a high to a low, that Bitcoin Cash goes above the golden ratio here, right? Like if we were at, imagine you're at 10%. And that's all the way up here. You're at 10% of a Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's at 500,000. Okay, then Bitcoin Cash might be at 53K. But likely Bitcoin will top off before Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash will run after Bitcoin. Maybe not. They topped off. You see, last cycle, Bitcoin's bull market ended in April, where BCH's ended in May. So it was 1 month later. It did top off with the rest of altcoins. I know that everybody says that the bear market began in 2021 November, and it did in November. But the bull market ended here. The bull market ended here in April. This was the high. That was April. That's when the bull market ended, right? This was not bull market. This was bull market. Okay, so the bull market ended in April, and then for Bitcoin Cash, the bull market ended here in May. So 1 month later. So I'm thinking that when Bitcoin sees its all-time high at $500,000, I'm thinking that Bitcoin Cash will likely not be at its all-time high, right? I have a purpose. I'm trying to just define what I think is possible. It's not that 53K is impossible. It's just it's very unlikely, right? We'd have to get to 10% of a Bitcoin, and we'd have to top off Bitcoin Cash at the exact same time that Bitcoin tops off at about 500K. That's probably not going to happen. Likely Bitcoin Cash, we get somewhere anywhere between about 2% of a Bitcoin by the end of this cycle to, I would even say like 7, maybe 8% of a Bitcoin by the end of the cycle. But even at $500,000, that does not give us a $50,000 Bitcoin Cash. So what makes the most sense there, right? If we're looking at BCH BTC, Bitcoin tops off at 500,000. It probably pulls back 20% by the time Bitcoin Cash tops off, right? Let's look. Let's just see what happened here, for example. Last cycle here in April, by May, I mean, you already pulled back 40%, 20%, whatever. You pulled back way more. BCH here in May, it pulled back as well. Let's just see, when did you top off? What day specifically? Running with these ideas, going all the way back here. Let's go to here, right? Yeah, it was May 11th. May 7th, May 11th. And then Bitcoin, by that time, how much did it drop already? Let's just see here. So from its high in April, by May 11th, you were already down. May 13th, you're already down 29. You'd already seen a 30% drop, 20% drop, okay? So again, just the thought here, if BTC is worth 500,000 at its cycle top, which that's been the prediction we've had since late 2022, early 2023, $500,000 for the cycle top. If you pull back 20 to 30% from $500,000, that is roughly, would that be $50,000? 20%? No, 10. That'd be $100,000. Yeah, $100,000 or more. You'd be at a $400,000 price or less. And at $400,000, even at a 10% valuation, that's $40K for Bitcoin Cash. I don't think that we're going to be at a 10% valuation versus Bitcoin. We'll probably be closer to 6.5 to 7%. What's 7% of 40K? It'd be 400 times 7, right? Which is, why can't I do this math? Is that 38K? 28K. 714, no. 400 times 7, yes, 714, 28. So 28K, that makes more sense to me. That makes more sense to me. I don't know how much this makes sense to you hearing this. I'm just talking about a bunch of different numbers. But to me, 28K makes a hell of a lot more sense than 50K, right? Or even 23K. And that's if Bitcoin's at these specific levels and then Bitcoin Cash, BTC is at these levels. We're using some logical deduction here to come up with these numbers, but anything could happen. Maybe we're off by a little bit. It's not 28K, it's at 23K. Maybe it's 13K, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I very much believe that Bitcoin Cash in itself will see new all-time highs, and it will see a 5-figure number by the end of this cycle, right? Somewhere probably closer to 20 to 25K if I really had to guess. And beyond that, beyond just where it's going to be by the end of this cycle, I think that we'll also see fantastically higher prices in the cycles to come. This $500 coin right now, this asset is really worth millions of dollars. We're just not in the future yet, right? It's millions of dollars in the future, but it's at $500 now. It's really a prime opportunity to buy. I wasn't thinking about doing a long-term analysis, but I guess that's what we're doing, is just long-term stuff here. I want to do some short-term stuff, and then we can wrap up the video, okay? I hope it makes sense as to why we've gone over and talked about what we've done. We took the maximum. Let's take the minimum, okay? This is BCH to BTC. Let's take the minimum. If we did a 2% Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, BCH is worth 2% of a Bitcoin, and we did the same kind of valuation. Bitcoin's at $400,000. Let's say 2% of that. What's 2% of 400,000? Why can't I do this? Why is it so hard? Is that 8,000? Is that what that is? What's Google calculator? I'm just really bad at math right now. I'm normally better at math. 400,000, 404, divided by, or no, multiply. We want it to be 2%, right? Yeah, 8,000. 8,000. So at a bare minimum, at a very bare minimum, Bitcoin Cash should see new all-time highs. But $8,000 doesn't really make a lot of sense, because from a high to a low, what? You're going to spend your whole life consolidating in this very well-respected pattern. You're going to spend your whole life consolidating, and then you break out, and you're going to stop below your minimum target. You're going to break out to new all-time highs after all this doubt, after all this fade, after all the hate that's been thrown your way. You're seeing new cycle highs for the first time ever in your life, and you're going to stop under your first target, which is at 13K. I don't think so. I I don't know if Bitcoin Cash BTC goes all the way up here. I don't know if it stops here. I think it's possible that you stop anywhere in between here, but probably more likely you stop somewhere in between this 3.5% to 7% area, if anything. And again, that zone we can make sense. If you get to 7% or even 6.5%, 6% itself even, we can make sense out of 23K, 20K, those price targets. So I do think that's where we're going to go inevitably, probably sometime in April, May, or June. It is possible this cycle continues into Q3 of 2026. It is completely possible. We're seeing a weird cycle right now, you guys, but I'm doing a lot of talking. Let's do the short-term stuff, and then we'll zoom back out and we'll finish this up, okay? 1 hour time frame, looking at BCH here at $503. Bullish on the RSI and the stochastics and the MACD. You crossed above the zero. Good. This is a good look. 4 hour time frame here, breaking out of your downtrend, aren't you? Look at you. You've got lower highs here, and you're breaking out of your downtrend. Beautiful. Without even getting oversold. That's a really powerful signal. Believe it or not, that's actually a very powerful signal. Stochastics look bullish, and the MACD's bearish, to be fair, but you do have bullish momentum, of which you're probably playing off of now. Once the MACD crosses back above the zero, I'm assuming we'll see some fireworks fly. I mean, it's just a matter of time right now, guys, right? It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when Bitcoin Cash is back above $600. At that point, I mean, there's so many people who are aware of Bitcoin Cash right now. I've seen more media attention for Bitcoin Cash here than I have throughout this whole cycle so far. Like and this cycle actually goes back. It goes back way over here. Throughout all this time, throughout every single thing, I've seen more media attention for Bitcoin Cash down here than I have throughout all of this. You best believe that when we get above $600, there's going to be some serious FOMO that comes in because everybody's aware. I think a lot of people, at least people who are paying attention in the crypto space, and institutions even, right? Like large figures are paying attention to this chart, and they know that whenever it rips, we're at least going to $2,000. But likely, very likely, I would see this move going all the way up by the end of this year, if not by the end of January, somewhere closer to $4,000. That's the expectation. And that in itself, from the current price, what is that? It's like an 8x move. We've got an 8x move in the next 2.5 months or less, right? And again, the FOMO is going to kick in real hard once we're at $600. So being here at 501, anytime we're below 500, it's really a blessing. I can't believe that we're at this low level, right? But time will tell. We'll see how it goes. I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, take care of yourselves. Very confident in Bitcoin Cash. That's why it's my largest bag at the moment. Take care. Bye-bye. I keep saying at the moment because I'm holding some other cryptos as well that if they were to pop off, they might be my largest bag as well, right? Things are subject to change as altcoins take their turns doing their things. But I'm done talking, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.